Hello guys, hope you all are doing fine. So today in this lesson we are going to see how to speak on my hometown topic for IELTS listening. It may come in part 1 or part 3 or even sometimes part 2. So the length will increase, but if you know these areas on which we have to speak, then it will be easy for you to speak for any part. So here I'm going to cover what and all we can speak on our hometown and how we can explain on it. Before starting, let me tell you something. Never try to memorize or recite your answers. Okay, you don't memorize your answers, or don't just say the basic lines like my hometown is famous, it's big, it's crowded. This is not going to let the examiner know that what is your language band. Okay, it will not show your command over the language. You need to specify, you need to speak clearly and explanatory way so that the examiner knows what you are saying and how you are using your language to explain a place where you have lived. So try to be different, try to stand out from others by using a different types to explain your answer. It is famous, it is beautiful, but the way you need to say it's beautiful and it's famous matters a lot. So just try to be natural. Okay, so what aspects are we going to cover? The first and foremost aspect or area which you can tell about your hometown is its infrastructure. What does infrastructure means? Infrastructure means high rising buildings. That is, you can say that my birthplace has numerous high rising buildings, or you can say it has various skyscrapers. Skyscrapers are nothing but very tall buildings like Dubai or Singapore. So when you are talking about infrastructure, you need to talk about the buildings, the museums, the art galleries, all those buildings and monuments that gives the layouts, the blueprint, the layouts of your hometown is called basically the infrastructure. So you can talk about the buildings. Okay, you can say my hometown has a numerous high-rising buildings. All the homes and flats are made up of wood. Okay, that is called wooden buildings. And you can explain that why it is wooden, because it is an area where earthquakes and volcanoes or something are famous, are prominent. Therefore people prefer to have wooden buildings so that they can build it again easily or in less quantity. So if you take one point and you explain, you are going to talk about 1 to 2 lines. So this is one more thing that you can use for infrastructure. These questions you can answer when the question is describe your hometown, or how does your hometown look, or how it is where you live in. So these are few questions that will include these answers. Again, it is expensive or beautiful homes. In infrastructure, as I said, it covers buildings and houses, is outline, its layout. So you can say the houses are very beautiful, mesmerizing, or a designer, and they are expensive or they are cheap. You can cover this too. Old or modern building. So you could also say that as my hometown is a traditional village, it has all the designs of olden era, and all the buildings and the houses are built in ancient designs. Or due to the advancement in technology, people are turning towards having modern design buildings or modular buildings, something. Okay, so this is one other thing that you can include when you're talking about infrastructure. Traditional cultural symbolic buildings, which I said, is the museums, the arts, the temples, the churches, or any other ancient or your historic buildings, that also comes under infrastructure. Spacious or packed apartments. So certain cities, this will cover that you can say the large village or a small village, or large town or a small town. So when you're talking about that, you can explain this. So as my village is a small area, the houses are packed that means it is very small. Or you can say as it is a large city, the houses are very spacious, or it is packed. So the size will be covered when you say this. So these are few points you need to talk about infrastructure. The other aspect which you can cover while describing your hometown is its transportation, the way of commutation. So it can be your roadways, it can be airways, or it can be your waterways. So what and all you can include? You can say that my hometown is a very has very easy commuting, that is transportation is very easy and it is digitalized. What I mean by this is that nowadays the transportation is going hand by hand with digitalization, that is technology. You can say the electronic tickets, we don't have to stand in a queue, but we just need to press a button and the electronic tickets come out. Apart from that, we do not need to go and buy tickets or book our plane tickets or bus tickets. We can do it on laptops, computers, or even your mobile phones. So this is easy and digitalized communication. Then public transport filled with modern amenities like AC, television. Okay, so nowadays the buses and even the metro trains, they are all filled with such amenities, like there are televisions for entertainment, there is air conditioning for comfortability. So even when the weather is very hot outside, you may have a comfortable and eased commuting experience. So you can include this when you are talking about your hometown in terms of transportation. How is the transportation in your hometown, or has transportation improved in your hometown compared to the last years? So when questions are such, you can answer these things. Again, packed with traffic congestion resulting in pollution. So you can say as my city is covered with traffic congestion, air pollution is very prominent. Or you can say there is no technological development, that means still your buses do not have the amenities, still your hometown people need to stand in queue to get electronic ticket, your normal traditional ticket buying. So you can say that whether it has improved and adapted to technology, or whether it is still lagging behind. Another thing that you can include is the mode of transportation. So in my hometown, the most common transportation mode is bus, or it's a metro train, or it's airplane. It's very easy to go to airport because it is very near to my village or city. So in terms of the mode of transportation, you can explain the transport facilities. The next thing that you can include while talking about hometown is very important, I think, because it's culture, tradition, and cuisine. These are three different parts. The questions may be that uh, what culture is followed in your hometown, or do you think the traditions have changed from past in your hometown, or what cuisine or meal is famous from your birthplace. So these are few questions. If questions are such, you can answer these things. It can be the festivals. The hometown is a fun-filled area which celebrates all festivals in a larger than life mode. That is, we celebrate everything in a large area. We celebrate everything with open heart and give our 100%. So it is very jolly whenever there is a festival or occasion going on in my hometown. Then traditional dresses and apparels. So of course my hometown is known for its traditional dresses, such as you can explain the traditional dress of your hometown or whichever comes to your mind. Another thing that you can include is always the cuisine. Okay, the food. Each and every state, each and every place has its own traditional and authentic cuisine, that is the meal, a special food by which they are known. Like south is known for idlis and dosas and rice items, whereas north is known for its paneer, that is paneer items, or the breads, flat breads, or vegetable curries. uh, Foreign countries are known for burgers and pizzas and anything. So each and every place has its own recognition through cuisines. So you can always include that my hometown's best meal, or the most famous meal is such and such thing. Okay, it is filled with delicious and rich spices, which gives it an authentic taste. So this is the way you can explain about a cuisine. Moreover, it consists of copious herbs and it is made with ancient techniques. So this is the way you construct your answer about talking a food, a meal, or a cuisine which is very special for your hometown in your culture. And then the culture and tradition will of course have artifacts. Artifacts are nothing but the traditional or historic arts that are preserved in museums or in art galleries, such as any painting or any sword or anything related to ancient wars or ancient civilizations. So those are called artifacts. You can always say that the my cultural picturesque paintings are very famous and they are preserved in the museums or in the art galleries. So you can explain these words very simply, but still it will enhance your band. So try to use all these words: picturesque, mesmerizing, eye-catching, artifacts. So these will give a boost to your lexical resource. Moral values and ethics, of course, each and every culture has its own morals, that respect your elders, or you should do such and such thing when you are born, and you should do this when you get married. So each and every culture has its own ethics, its own moral values. So you can explain on that, that my hometown has a very strong moral ethical values and we tend to follow it on everyday basis, which makes us different from other communities. So this is the way you can say about moral values. And the next explanation that you can give about your hometown is its surrounding and occupation. So one thing which I want to tell here is that occupation is always goes hand in hand with your surroundings. Okay, the surrounding, that is your city is filled with or surrounded with sea, then the occupation that the people of that place do will be affected by this, because it may be that their main occupation will be related to water, that is fishing or rowing or boating, something like that. So what and all you can include while you are talking about the surrounding and the occupation? You can include the mountains, the hills, the rivers, lakes or oceans and seas, and your forest or greeneries. So if you are surrounded by hills or mountains, then it may become a tourist attraction because it will have waterfalls and majestic mountains, large, strong hills, something like that. So the main occupation can be tourist guides or the small shops near these tourist places, which people tend to sell their artifacts or small related things like the bangles or the jewel accessories or anything. If your hometown is surrounded by sea or oceans, then the main occupation may be fishing, boating, rowing, or going about ferries. So you could say, as it is surrounded by the mesmerizing sea view at dawn and dusk, and also large oceans, the main occupation of my people is fishing or boating or rowing ferries. So something like that. Whereas if your hometown is filled with greenery or forest or large trees, strong trees, then you can say that my hometown is surrounded with greenery, with eye-catching view to colorful flowers and melodious birds. So the main occupation of my hometown people is paper making, logging, or architect building, because for building you need space, so they may cut down some trees or change those into tree housing or something. So these are a few ways in which you can explain the surrounding as well as the occupation of your people. Another point to cover is its people itself. Okay, every town, every city, every culture has its people which have distinct you can say characters, distinct behavior by which they are known. And as India is a diverse culturified country, we have various people of different backgrounds, characters, and behaviors. So you can explain them accordingly. Okay, so they can be kind-hearted. Okay, so the people or citizens of my city, my hometown, are very kind-hearted and they are very generous. They're also very hard-working and always work for the betterment of place. So you can say that they're always happy to help. They're always hard-working in uplifting themselves as well as their city. Apart from that, you can also say that they are not fair weather friends. That means they are not only with you in the sad times or at the time of sorrow or in the time of happiness, but they are with you at all times. Whether you are happy or sad, they are always beside you to guide you, help you, and support you. So this is called fair weather friend. Then always lend a hand. This means they're always ready to help someone who are in distress. So you can always say, apart from this, my people are always ready to lend a hand to people who are in distress or who are suffering from some problems. You can also say they are rich in hospitality, because in India we are known, we say that guests are like gods. So you can say that the hospitality which is followed in my hometown is very rich and larger than life. So they are very the hospitality shown by them is very good. They are very generous and they welcome all with open heart. So these are few characteristic, few behaviors that you can tell about the people of your hometown. And say all these things need not be true. Okay, as speaking is not based on your truth or lies, it is based on the command over the language. So whatever comes to your mind, just speak on that. It need not be complete truth. Okay, don't worry if it is not true. Maybe your people may not be kind, maybe they are not hardworking, but still it doesn't matter. You just need to say, build up a story so that the examiner sees that how well you can describe the characters, the behaviors of your people. Next, always we can talk about its famous areas. The questions may be, what is your hometown famous for, or what it is known for. So you can say the different monuments, the museums, the art galleries, and other historic buildings or architectural buildings that belongs to ancient time. So you can always say that my hometown is recognized throughout the world for its museums and art galleries, which are filled with picturesque paintings and mesmerizing artifacts. You can also say about its cultural beauty. Okay, it is known for its cultural beauty, like the functions, the traditional functions which take place. You can explain on that. Then the historical monuments like statues, old ruins. Old ruins means the old buildings which are destroyed now, but they were a symbol of some kings, queens, or other ancient times. Manor houses are like old bungalows or something. Okay, castles, of course, you all know. So you can explain all this. It is famous for historical monuments like statues, old ruins, manor houses, and castles, which people around the globe come and have a look for its mesmerizing and unique designs. So this is the way you can explain your famous areas. Your famous areas can be elegant, eye-catching, state of the art. Okay, so these are few vocabulary related to architecture buildings. Okay, you can say that it has a very state of the art design, it has very eye-catching color or eye-catching designs, so you can explain that. Apart from this, you can also include some of the shops like hypermarkets, shopping markets. It is famous for the large shopping mall that is belonged here. Or you can tell about some other aspect which you think is your hometown famous. Last but not the least, you can always talk about weather and seasons, because each and every place has its own weather, its own season, its own timeline. You can always tell about that. So the question may be, do you like the weather of your hometown, or do you prefer to have a rainy season or cold season or summer season, or how is the weather of your hometown? These are few questions that will include in your hometown questions. So you can answer according to these four areas, that is summer, winter, spring, autumn. Okay, so you could say my city experiences all the four distinct seasons in a proper amount, that is equal amount. or you can say my hometown is mostly hot and humid, or it is always cold and icy throughout the year. So something like that, whichever you feel like your hometown is, you can say that either it is hot and humid or it is cold and icy. Or you can say my hometown has a very good autumn and spring seasons which are very soothing and pleasant. Okay, so you can say the seasons or the weather here is always autumn and spring, and it is very soothing and pleasant for people living around. Or you can say the scorching heat or freezing cold. Okay, so during summers, scorching heat cannot be bad in my hometown. Or you can say during winters it is freezing cold in my hometown and no one can step out of their house. So these are ways you can explain the weathers. You can also include these idioms when you're talking about the rain. In my hometown it's always a pouring cats and dogs. Mostly it is rainy seasons throughout the year, or it is drought season for most of the year. Okay, so drought season means there is no rainfall, so you can say mostly it's drought area due to minimal rainfall, so it affects people as well as agriculture or something like it. You can just elaborate when you have a clear point. Okay, then the prominent season of my hometown, so you can just pick out one season which you think is mostly occurring in your town for 6 months or 7 months. So you can say the prominent season of my hometown is summer, or the most seen season of my hometown is winter or rainy season. So whichever you think is more in your hometown, you can say on that and then continue on that. If you have taken summer, then continue hot and humid climate, scorching heat and all. If you have taken winter, then speak on winter. It's cold and icy, it is freezing cold and no one can step out. If you have taken rain, then talk about rain. Okay, so these are few aspects, few topics that you can talk about of your hometown. Okay, and these are few questions which will cover everything which I have said. So if any of these things come, you can just take any one aspect which I have described and talk about that. Okay, location can have the surrounding and the beautiful areas and sceneries. Describe your hometown. You can describe your hometown in with respect to its infrastructure, or with respect to its historical buildings, or with respect to its surrounding. The main idea is don't include everything until it's part 2. If the question comes in part 2 that describe your hometown, then you can include most of these aspects or areas which I have covered. But if it's part 1 or part 3, pick any two and explain and elaborate them completely without getting confused. If you try to inculcate all these ideas, then you are going to make your answer confusing for yourself as well as the examiner. To try to stick to one thing or two things. Then how are the people? You can describe the character behavior. What's the occupation? You can talk about the surrounding which results in such and such occupation. Okay, so these two go hand by hand. Then what it is famous for? You can talk the shopping malls, you can talk about the tourist spots, you can talk about its artifacts, its paintings, or any historical buildings and architecture buildings. Okay, so these are few areas which can cover all the questions describing your hometown. So now try to practice with questions in this topic and try to answer them according to these aspects, and see if you are confusing yourself or you are very clear on ideas at what to speak and what not to speak and how to explain these topic clearly. Okay, so all the best and do well.